Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of Spring Fever. As always, I'm XFL Jim, and I would like to welcome back the one, the only. It is Uncle Rico. What's up, Erik?
Nothing much, man. Just, happy to be back. Got a little bit of a heat wave here in Chi-Town. It's a robust 75 degrees. Big
It
man had
hit.
to turn on I just turned on the AC last night, buddy.
It hit the 80s in Nebraska, and boy, howdy, today was the first day that I didn't have allergies for some reason. For
Really?
those of you who've been paying attention to the shows, basically for the last, I'd say the last 6 days, maybe for the last week in total, I've been coming on to shows just bloodshot red eyes, barely able to breathe. I've been struggling through it because I'm a trooper, because spring football is here, because it is the best time to be alive. We have 2 leagues going on simultaneously. I can't remember the last time there were 2 spring football leagues going head to head in the same weekend.
You have to be like a little kid on Christmas.
I'm like
Right.
I'm like the kid. I'm like the kids when they see the big room made out of candy in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I mean, like, I hope one day I can experience the joy that you're going to experience this weekend.
I will be from Friday evening till Sunday night when they all cap off. I will be nothing but smiles. Smiles, and I don't know if I should call my doctor, but the erection will last longer than 24 hours.
Jesus, dude. Like, what's the over on, like, tell me, like, what's your schedule going in? We kick off with the Vipers Roughnucks, and
Yes.
then the Guardians Brahmas don't play till 6. What's the eating schedule? Are you going to be like Cartman was in South Park, where he just had like a little portable like bedpan right next to the screen? Like,
I might have to, but so my bedroom where I record from is right next to a bathroom.
okay,
So I'm good on that regard where I can just run for like 5 seconds, take a bathroom break, and come in. I might just have to have food ready because anyone who's watched the streams before, I've done like halftime entertainment, roulette spins. I've been kind of getting into that, getting a little degen with that. Those might have to be put on pause and stopped because aside from the Vipers Roughnecks game, there's going to be USFL and XFL on at the same time.
and what is the over under on cigarettes consumed?
Well, if I can't leave the house, if I can't leave during the games, the over under should be like 1.5.
You're not going to do the thing where you like just go by the window.
No. I live with my folks, remember. Maybe once I get my own place, and I know that they were smoker friendly, when I get my own place and I can just sit on the balcony and still watch the TV, then we'd be talking. But until then, no. I dare not piss off Mama Jim.
Mama Jim can lay down the hammer.
She can lay down the fucking hammer, dude.
Mama Jim don't play.
No. She will smite me.
Mama J don't play.
No, she does not. Before we get into the future, let's take a quick look back at the past. The playoff picture is becoming more and more crystal clear for the XFL day by day. Week 8, we saw the Vegas Vipers take on the Battlehawks. Battlehawks won at 21-17 in overtime. And I was talking about this with Chase on the gymnasium, Erik. This kind of culminated in something that I know you've been steadfast on from the jump from the USFL last year. Please be XFL, USFL, spring leagues in general, please be better about timely injury reports. It was not let known to the public until like maybe an hour before the game that AJ McCarron was not starting for the Battlehawks due to a shoulder injury.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. Like, and that's been my pet peeve forever. Like, we can't get injury reports. Even the live scoring, the box scoring on ESPN, which hosts the XFL, is just astronomically bad.
It was terrible with the Fox app too with the USFL. It was
awful.
Yeah, it was not great. My takeaway was that the injury for AJ has to be serious for him to miss this game, because if St. Louis loses, there are huge playoff implications.
I mean, let's look at the standings right now, man. Like,
So the
them and the
standings,
Sea Dragons are just in a battle right now.
basically, the game this week of the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons is a play-in game. The Battlehawks win and they're in. Sea Dragons will need to win both games in order to qualify. But if the Battlehawks win, they're in. It's done. Vegas, to their credit, has looked better since being eliminated. I think as long as McClendon, if they can figure out a way to get him to stay for next year, they're going to be in a nice situation. Also, and I'll get this into the next game, there's a reason. It's not just personnel why Vegas is on the bottom. There's some, like, I love Rod Woodson. I love his energy. There were some poor coaching decisions in these games. Like some bad time management, which leads me directly into the Renegades versus the Guardians. The Renegades win this one 18-16, really cementing they're probably going to make the playoffs. Terrell Buckley. So here's the situation. I don't know if you were watching this weekend, Eric. I know you had a lot going on. You're down 15-18. There's about maybe a little under a minute left.
Okay.
You score. So you score to get to 15.
Okay.
In the XFL, you can go for 1, 2, or 3 points. You go for 3, right?
I go for 3 because if you don't get it, you can do the 4th and 15 to try to get the ball back.
Terrell Buckley went for 1. They don't get it. Which either way, like if you don't get the 3, you can still go for the 4th and 15. Don't go for the 4th and 15 because they had all 3 timeouts. Trust their defense. There's maybe like a minute some left still. And then guess what? You get the ball back, a sack, a strip sack happens, and you're done. Okay. Guess what happens if you go for the 3 and get it? You're tied. You go into overtime.
Yeah, it makes sense to me and to you.
I don't understand. Like the Guardians, this just showed, and this eliminated them from the playoffs. This was a must-win game for the Guardians. Yeah. And bad coaching decisions is what lost them this game. Speaking of which, going back to the Vegas St. Louis game, we had our first XFL overtime in history.
And what did you think of that, my friend?
I liked it. I like what they do. So they kind of do their rule is sort of like the new college rule. After the 2 overtimes in college, how they just kind of line up on the 2.5 yard line.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a penalty kick soccer shootout. But it's a best of 3. So each team gets to go at max 3 times. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of that, whoever, like say one team scores on the first one, the other team misses it. And the other team scores on their next one, the other team misses it, that team just wins.
Okay.
And if you go up to, I forget how many rounds it can go to, but it's a best of 3 shootout. I like that it's not just one play and you're done.
I like that too.
You're never going to get a perfect overtime. I mean, I personally think the old college overtime was the best overtime. But you're never going to get something perfect. I like that it changes the game a little bit where you're sort of in this penalty shootout situation, but I like that it's not just one play. I like that it's at least a best of 3.
Did you hear my my proposal?
No, what was yours?
It's it's like the NFL, but the home team always gets the ball first. First score wins, but the first score wins. So even if it's a field goal, so even if like the home team gets the ball, they score a field goal, they win. I think like hypothetically, let's say you're a visitor and you score, I think that you'll play the game a little differently.
I think so. I think that would drastically change how you approach the game.
You know what I mean? Especially like in the playoffs, I think so. But I don't know. I think it's something a little different. A little, try to think a little bit outside the box. So
I think it'd be very high stakes, and I like that.
yeah.
Otherwise, good job, Renegades. They looked way improved on offense with Perez back there. They looked actually like a competent offense. And this was the funny stat that they had for the game. So the Renegades got a fumble recovery 6 in the first quarter.
Okay.
It was their first point scored in the first quarter all season.
Really?
First touchdown in the first quarter. All season.
Wow.
Still have not made an offensive first quarter touchdown.
You know what, dude? They're playing for records out here, man.
They are. They're doing pretty good. Game number 3, we had the Roughnecks and the Brahmas. Another overtime game, which shouldn't have even gone to overtime. The Roughnecks really fumbled this one away. Brandon Silvers is back, and he looked good, and then he looked like Brandon Silvers. So, meh. Brahmas, they brought Jack Cohn back.
And you lost.
But it's one of those interesting losses, because if you look at the stats, Erik.
Yeah.
Brahmas had more total plays, more yards per play, more first downs, and they lose.
You know what? That's Brahmas football, dude.
That is Brahmas football. That's Jack Cohn football because he loves to dink and dunk. They didn't have very many plays over, what was his longest pass? 22 yards.
Then you know what? That's Jack Cohn football, dude.
He's also sacked 6 times. The Brahmas, I'm officially declaring the Brahmas do have the worst offensive line in the league.
I concur with that thesis statement.
I think Jack Westpatrick stood out, and technically they're still alive for the playoffs. It's going to be difficult. We'll talk about that in a second. Last game, Defenders Sea Dragons. Defenders win this one 34-33. Defenders are just good. They didn't have a hiccup after losing to the Guardians the week before. Tamu did it through the air. They only had, how many rush yards? They didn't even have that many rush yards. 87 rush yards. Total for the Defenders.
Wow.
But Tamu had 247 247 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns.
Did you hear when they scored and they could have gone for 1 or 2? And Nucci's just like, just go for 1.
Yeah, Nucci, he's always been mad that June Jones for most of the year has been wanting to go for 3.
Yeah.
The Sea Dragons, I believe, no, it was the Roughnecks. The Roughnecks attempted 3 1-point conversions. They are now 0 for 9 on 1-point conversions, the Roughnecks are.
That's consistency, dude.
They just need to stop doing that. Yeah, Danucci, maybe it's the one time he doesn't feel like giving the ball, like being a little risky with the ball is when you've already scored.
Yeah.
Sea Dragons are good. I don't like the last play call from June Jones, but for most of it, I do like it. I think they're still a team to watch out for, and we'll get into that when we preview this coming week, because it's the biggest game of the season for both teams.
Yep.
Overall, Week 8, similar to Week 7, exciting games. Every game came down to the wire, which is, you can't ask for much more in a spring football league, is for every game to be extremely close going into the end of the 4th. And I didn't think every game would be early on in the season when you were getting just like 30-plus point blowouts, it felt like.
I'll tell you what, I feel like the football has gotten better, even like the tier 2 teams, if you will. Like the bottom tier teams have slowly gotten better. Guardians look like they're somewhat competent. Renegades a little bit trickier now since you put Perez in. Bandits, they have the Brahmas, Jack Cohn, enough said.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of feel like everything's gotten a little bit better. It's a little bit more sound quality. Presentation is great. That's one thing I'll give the XFL credit for. Top to bottom, the presentation is great. And I think you made a good point on your stream. They finally got the big man. I forget who's the
sideline.
sideline
The sideline guy.
who always is like me when I'm in New Orleans and I have a towel on my neck.
Just sweating his ass off every
Oh my
game.
God. They finally put him up top. He's like honestly, when I went to New Orleans, that's how I was. I was walking around like my first day in Nolo, dude. You know, I was decked to the T. Came back, it looked like I was in a sauna. The next day, I was walking around, dude. I kid you not, in gym shoes, mesh shorts, white undershirt, and a towel around my neck. Give two shits.
You got to do what you got to do.
You know.
I'm not going to give the Brahmas too much flack for Jack Cohn because they've gone through 4 quarterbacks this season. He wouldn't be their preferred guy, but Reed Sinnett and Kurt Benkert are both out.
Yeah.
Sinnett broke his foot, his ankle, I think, and Kurt Benkert smashed his ribs.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
But now, before we look at week 9, talk a little playoff picture right now.
Yep.
The Defenders and Roughnecks are both locked in. They're both, so the Defenders are the North champions. The Roughnecks are the South champions. They're both locked into the home field advantage for the playoffs. For the Defenders, I think that's massive.
Yep.
Still haven't lost a game at home in franchise history.
Impressive.
So, massive. They'll either play the Battlehawks or the Sea Dragons. The Roughnecks, depending on who they play, they've looked vulnerable. I think at this point, almost any team in the South can beat each other. I was talking with Chase about it. If you could take a prop for a South team, just either of the teams from the South that comes out of the playoffs to win the XFL at, I don't know, 100-1, I don't know if I take it at this point.
Yeah. I would take it just simply because
You'd take it because of the number.
I take it because of the number, but also who are the best 2 defensive coaches in the XFL? Coaches or coordinators, Williams and Phillips.
It's true.
You know, so if I get Phillips in a 1-game scenario, I'm going to trust him to scheme up some shit.
That's fair. That's fair. And the offense is I don't know. I can't get behind Brandon Silvers. But right now, they're locked in. The Battlehawks and Sea Dragons, who we're facing off this week, basically it's a play-in game, which I've been saying for the last few weeks. If Seattle loses, they're out. If St. Louis wins, they're in. Seattle would also have to win week 10.
That's asking a lot, man.
So basically, Seattle needs to go 2-0 the rest of for these next 2 weeks. Vipers eliminated. The Guardians just got eliminated. Arlington, they're holding on. They're up 2 games on the Brahmas, so the Brahmas need to win out, and they probably need the Renegades to lose. At least one of them. I know I think the Renegades might edge them out on some aggregate stuff since they split their game. So I think they might need the Renegades to lose out as well.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the Renegades.
It's all probability, it's the Roughnecks and the Renegades. The North is a little bit harder because both the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons have looked pretty good. And I don't know the status of A.J. McCarron. They said he's going to start. But if he didn't play last week, maybe they just thought they could walk over Vegas. Maybe they thought it was like a guaranteed win, and it definitely turned out not to be a guaranteed win. Just to let him rest for 2 full weeks.
I mean, maybe you could have maybe hit the nail on the head. Maybe they thought it was a guaranteed win. Maybe they're like, hey, you know what? We don't need him this one. We'll roll out, see what we got.
That was almost a huge blunder then.
My thing with the Sea Dragons is this. You have multiple people that used to play in the league.
I don't understand how they're not just winning.
You're a wreck, dude.
And Philip Lindsay did look good. I mean, it was his first start in the league, so maybe a little bit of warm-ups necessary.
I didn't even know why did he come down?
Maybe no one in the league wanted him or something. I know he played, so his last stop was at the Dolphins, and he didn't do much there, to be fair. But he's consistent, and I think the Sea Dragons needed the strength at running back. So, good pickup for them.
Yeah.
If we look at the futures for the XFL, we got the Defenders at plus 160. I don't see value there. Roughnecks plus 275. Don't like that. You could have gotten them so much better, like even just 3 weeks ago. Battlehawks at 4-1 and Sea Dragons plus 550 are intriguing.
Yeah.
If you fully believe that anything can happen, the Renegades at 9-1 isn't bad.
I mean, the number is whoever you think, in my opinion, whoever you think is going to get in between the Sea Dragons and Battlehawks. That's the value play.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think the 3 best teams in the league are all in the North.
Yeah, that's true.
So whichever one of those two, either the 550 or the 4-1, I would take it. But even then, you could have gotten it better last week. I think they were both at like 6-1 last week.
Yep.
Especially the week before DC lost.
Yeah. I look like Roughnecks, because their limitations offensively. I think they'll obviously be in the championship game. I think they're going to handle the Renegades.
I think so too.
The thing is like, who has a better chance, do you feel, to go into DC and get a win? Seattle or St. Louis?
They're both 0-2. They both looked competitive. If AJ McCarron's 100%, I think I trust St. Louis a little more. Okay. They just seem to be playing cleaner.
Then you take St. Louis there. That's your bet.
I think that's probably the bet. But let's look now to the Week 9 lines. We start off Vegas Vipers, Houston Roughnecks. Roughnecks minus 6.5, over under 44. Roughnecks at home, obviously, because Vegas and that Trashfield Trashmans is done. Hopefully we don't see it next year.
Oh my God, they're gonna have to do something. I mean,
they gotta do something. Either move cities or at the very least, different venue. Have to. Over under 44 is intriguing. Man, I almost want to go Vegas plus 6.5.
Oh,
I'm gonna go Vegas plus 6.5.
I would definitely go Vegas plus 6.5. Just the pure angle of the fade after winning the division, making the playoffs, dude. You got to hit it.
Yeah, clinching the 1 seed. The Roughnecks have been looking a little weaker. They've also been like sneakily, like people haven't been talking about a ton. The Roughnecks have been pretty injury battled throughout the season. Maybe they try and heal up a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the over 44, though. I'm going to take that, too.
Look at you, dude. Look at you.
Guardians, Brahmas. So we saw the Guardians favored for the first time all season last week. Didn't work out for them. Now they're on the other side. Brahmas are minus 1.5 at home, over under 39.5.
I got a rule, Jim. When 2 shitty teams play, you always take the points.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Guardians. I'm going to take a money line.
Oh, look at you, dude.
I think the Brahmas get officially eliminated from the playoffs in this game. That offensive line is garbage, and Orlando has a sneaky defense.
Yep.
And as good as the Brahmas defense is, I think the scoundrel Quentin Dormady might be like a top 3 quarterback, maybe even top 2 quarterback in the league. He's looked good.
That's just crazy talk, Jimbo.
He's looked good, Erik.
That's just crazy talk.
I can't believe they didn't start him from the jump based on what they've trotted out there.
Jimbo, that's just crazy talk.
It blows my mind. I'm going to take the... Oh, God. The total's so fucked. I'm going to take under 39.5, I think. Damn it. I'm going to flip-flop on this one. I just know it.
You're going to flip it?
Okay, I'm going to take over 39.5. If it gets over to 40.5, I'm going to take the under.
Okay.
But under 40, I'll take the over. Renegades, Defenders. Defenders minus 8.5 at home versus the Renegades. Over under 41.5.
I feel like 8.5 is just way too many points.
That's a lot of points. I'm going to take the under 41.5 here. Perez has only let me down one time this season, and that was Vegas versus St. Louis. I'm going to ride him again. I'm going to ride this improved Renegades. I think this is a defensive sort of slugfest. Give me the Renegades to lose a close one here, plus 8.5. Similarly, just like Erik said, DC just locked up the 1 seed. Give him a little fade.
And how, like you mentioned it before, how do they know they're not going to be resting people?
Exactly, that too. I'm gonna take the Renegades plus 8.5, under 41.5. Last game, Sea Dragons, Battlehawks. Game of the year potential here. Battlehawks -1 at home, over under of 46. I don't know the status of AJ McCarron, Erik.
I kind of want to bet the under.
I wouldn't hate you for that. I kind of want to bet that under too. Sea Dragons' defense has looked improved. Their offense has looked a little shaky, but
we don't know what's going on with McLaren. Must-win game, kind of like an elimination type game.
I'm going to take the Battlehawks -1. I'm going to take the under 46.
I'll take the under 46. That's it for me. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll take under 22.5 too for the first half.
I like that. That's a really good one. That's a very good play, Erik.
I like that one.
But now we move away from the XFL to the other spring league that's starting right now. Year 2 of the USFL begins this weekend. And Erik, we have futures. There's a lot to talk about with these teams. We'll give a little short preview for every team as we preview them, as we give the future out. Starting with the 2 favorites, they're co-favorites. Stallions at 3-1 and Generals at 3-1. So the Stallions return almost everybody on a team that won last year, on a very consistently good team.
But the one thing that you mentioned is they never really had that true away game. How are they going to be with that? They kind of caught lightning in the bottle last year with everything kind of breaking their way a little bit.
They got lucky in a lot of games.
So I think they're due for a little bit of regression. I'm going to be looking to fade this team to start the year, especially when they go on the road for the first time.
I think so too. Also, you're probably going to see higher spreads for this team opening up. We'll get into that when we do the week 1 preview. The Stallions are just, I think they have one of the higher floors, maybe a top 2 floor of any team. I think just returning guys like J.M.R. Smith, returning Bo Scarborough, I think is huge. Their run game should be massive.
Yeah, Bo's a big boy, dude.
He's big. And with like a full year in the system, because if you guys remember, he joined like halfway through the season last year.
Bo's a big boy.
3-1, I just can't get down to either of these teams at 3-1. The Generals also return a ton of players. They obviously lose Turpin, which was a huge offensive weapon, not to mention special teams. And they have to switch it up at quarterback. But Johnson did get some playtime. I think DeAndre Johnson's probably going to be the starter. But they also picked up Kyle Laletta from the Maulers, who was, if you guys remember, he like kind of made the Maulers look decent when he was in. So they have weapons too.
I look at it like this, dude. That's just way too short of a price, man. You know what I mean?
It's way too short.
I can't play that number. I just can't do it.
The Generals are going to be good, though. I think they might have the highest floor.
Yeah.
I think you're going to need to see some of these receivers step up for them, though, with the absence of Turpin. And they do lose, they lose their guard, who was all USFL.
Yeah.
But they kept a good chunk of that offensive line, and that was a big part of why this team was so good. Up next, you have the 2 5-1 teams, 3 5-1 teams. You have the Breakers, the Stars, and the Showboats, all at 5-1. I'm going to just get ahead of it. Showboats are just the Bandits from last year. Todd Haley's still the coach. I'm not touching that team with a 10-foot pole. I do not trust Todd Haley. I do not like Todd Haley. Get this team away from me.
I agree 110%, but there is a 5-1 team that I know you and I are both very high on.
There is one that we are both very high on. The Showboats, though, to stay on them, they have to switch up at quarterback. They're one of the teams that's going to have a different quarterback back there. I think it's going to be Brady White out of Memphis, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a bigger guy. not as dual thready as Jordan Ta'amu was. And I think we've seen how Ta'amu plays in the defenders when he has like a dominant offensive line. That's kind of what he needs.
Yeah.
The Showboats, aka the Bandits, did not have a dominant offensive line last year. They were still one game away from getting to the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. They just weren't. They just had a lot of issues. I mean, he led the league in interceptions. I think if they clean up quarterback play, this team could be good and very interesting. But at 5-1, I don't want to touch it.
I wouldn't touch it either.
The Stars are an interesting one. They were in the championship game last year. Getting Case Cookis back is nothing short of a miracle that he's playing again after that championship game.
Completely shocked about that.
I don't know what the situation is with Bug Howard. He's on the inactive list. I don't know what that means for him.
That's a little weird.
He was a huge part of this offense, but I mean, my favorite coach in football, still coaching. I love the Stars. They might be my team this year.
Weren't they your team last year?
They were. Just because, I mean, obviously, like especially once Case Cookis got in there. I can't not root for Case Cookis. He's such a fun fucking quarterback. I expect them to have just a huge offense, personally. Defense, maybe we'll see some improvement. I mean, they got into the playoffs with 4 losses. They could very easily do that again.
Yep.
And at 5-1, they're worth taking a shot on, but I suspect with the Stars, they'll probably drop a game or two throughout the season. You might be able to get better odds, especially if they drop something early.
I agree 100%.
The last 5-1 team, probably our favorite team of the whole season, the New Orleans Breakers.
Love them.
The first team we're talking about that has a new head coach. And I know Erik has you like the coach.
I like him, dude.
You like a little Dave Filippo?
I think I did a great job in the league. Great job developing some quarterbacks. Did good work in Chicago and in oh my god, with Philadelphia. And the guy from the Canadian Football League, whose name, of course,
McLeod Bethel Thompson. I was just about to say, speaking of quarterbacks.
Yeah, he recruited. He personally sought this guy out. So
I think this is
handpicked.
As much as like the USFL community, and I was part of this, loved Kyle Sloter last year, and I thought he looked good until he got injured. He was reckless with the ball, and I don't know what's happened to him because when he was playing for the Renegades this year, he looked straight up bad. I think McLeod Bethel Thompson is a huge upgrade at quarterback. Another team that returns a lot, especially offensively. They return a lot of their weapons. They get some really good players. I think getting Johnny Dixon back is massive. Defense, they lose some, but I still think it's going to be a mean defense. It's going to be good. I think this team is one to watch out for. At 5-1, I love the Breakers. I think they could very easily walk in with a 1 seed.
I co-sign on the Breakers.
Love. Next, we get to our sort of lower teams. Plus 650, we have the Panthers. Plus 600, we have the Gamblers. All 3 of these next teams we're talking about new coaches, new staffs, and I believe also new quarterbacks.
Correct. All 3. It's really going to be interesting, just a couple of quick thoughts on each of them. With the Gamblers, you look at their coach Johnson when he was with Tulane. I mean, offense was brutal at Tulane, outside the top 100 in college football. Don't really know what we're going to get from them. Mike Nolan, based on what he did when he was in the NFL, his teams that he coached. Now, I know he is a defensive coach. His teams he coached, brutal offensively. What are we going to get from them? And then the thing with the Maulers is we don't know when you take Kirby out of the room, what's going to happen. How are these guys going to react with no Kirby?
I think worst case scenario for all 3 of these teams, it's more of what you saw last year. All 3 had pretty good defenses and horrid offenses.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility. I think it's going to come down to who do they have? Like, what's their relationship with the offensive coordinator is going to be? And I think quarterback might be a huge factor. I think Kenji Bahar for the Gamblers, I think, is the best option for either 3 of these teams. He looked good last year. He got the Gamblers 2 wins. He beat the Stallions. That was with Sumlin. Yeah. And I'm going to shit on Sumlin, but like,
watch your fucking tone, man.
Kevin Sumlin's a bum. He at least was like an offensive-minded coach. Maybe a little bit of defensive-minded coach that's a little like hands-off on the offense might be good for this team.
Yeah. Okay.
The Panthers, I just think the Panthers are going to have a good defense, and they got to have a better offense. I don't care that this guy has had putrid offenses. They can't. Like, just not having Shea Patterson as your quarterback is massive.
So fucking bad.
So they got Josh Love out of San Jose State.
Yeah.
He had some good years there.
He did okay.
And the Panthers have weapons. Like, they have weapons on offense.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take a shot, and then the Maulers, we just don't know. 7-1, we just don't know what the Maulers are going to look like.
We have no clue what's going to happen with the Maulers.
They were so bad last year.
But they're always in position to win games, which is the
They
weirdest.
were, but the offense was, I mean, like, they also have good weapons. Like, I loved Gaither last year was so good. They're also the only team who they have like a legit 3-way battle for quarterback, and I don't know who's going to play.
And you know what they say, if you have a 3-way battle for quarterback, you don't have a quarterback.
Well, maybe they'll just figure if they don't play all 3 week 1.
Yeah.
We'll be good. That's what USFL. I don't want to see multiple quarterbacks in the same game. If you could stand it. If you could do that, just please. If you're going to try new quarterbacks, do one week, do the other week. You have a couple weeks of a little leeway. Do that.
They didn't really do that much last year. I hope that
the only team that was playing multiple quarterbacks was New Jersey, and they did it almost all season, but for them it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
It was just weird when you see Johnson go in, you were like, oh, it's probably a run play. When Perez was in, it's like, oh, it's almost definitely a pass play.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. But I think both of our favorite play is the Breakers plus 500.
Breakers plus 500, yeah.
Like, they just have so many weapons, and just the huge upgrade at quarterback. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on McLeod Bethel-Thompson, but damn.
You're just putting too much pressure on the kid.
Maybe. Let's move now to the week 1 USFL lines. We start off Stars Showboats, baby. Stars minus 2.5 on the road, over under 38.5.
You know me, Jim.
I know you.
Never lay points on the road. But I will say this. Is Philly based in Memphis? Yeah, so
they're Detroit.
Yeah, this is a hard pass for me, son. Hard pass for me. If I lean to anything, I would lean to the under. I read this interesting article this morning where it talked about how the point totals in these first weeks are usually in these mid-30s on average. Medium, they're about 35. The XFL was the only league that got into the 40s.
The XFL this year went wild week 1.
Yeah, which was a little different, a little unexpected. And who knows, maybe that's because they did have such an extended training camp.
And you might see that with this because they've had a way longer training camp. And also, like, this is the second year.
Yeah,
these guys have already played this league before. To me, it comes down to, I think the Showboats will look better. It comes down to how does Case Cookus look post-injury.
Yeah, that's another angle. Like, is he scared to get hit? We saw with Dak when Dak first came back. And Brady, and yes, I'm using Cade Cookus in the same sense as those guys.
How dare you disrespect the Tookus of Cookus by comparing him to some scrub-ass quarterbacks in a scrub-ass league?
Well, my point is this, is we've seen it when quarterbacks come back from a big injury. They're a little tight, let's say. You know what I mean? I'm
going to do it, Eric. I'm going to take the Stars minus 2.5. This is a gut play. This is heart. This is nothing but gut and heart. I'm gonna take the under 38.5.
Look at you, dude.
I'm gonna do it.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about, man.
General Stallions. Stallions at home, -5. Over under 40.
You know what I'm doing? I'm give me the Generals, dude.
Yeah, I'm taking the 5 is too many points.
Give me the excuse my language, the fucking Generals.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the fucking Generals here. Like the Stallions are good. I think the Stallions probably win the game. But I think that's too many points. Walter McKee in the chat. Big Man Jim will be at Audi Field for the DC last home game Sunday. Oof. They already claimed the rights to the division, but they're going to win that shit. Jordan Tomu is God. The USFL will flop because of football fatigue. I'll take the showboats. No,
okay.
The USFL will not flop. That's sacrosanct. And then also he says, "What's up, Uncle Rico?"
What up?
Yeah, I'm taking the Generals. I'm going to take...
You have to take the Generals here.
I'm going to take the under 40 as well.
I would take the under 42.
Yeah, 5 is just ludicrous. Panthers, Gamblers. It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em.
Like to me, it's under City.
Yeah, over under 38.5. Under City for days. Come on. What are we doing here?
To me, under City all day.
Both teams new quarterbacks, new coaches. Both defenses were really good last year, returning a decent amount. Give me the under. I'm going to roll with the Gamblers, though, at home. I trust Kenji Bahar. Erik, I have to. I have to
I'm
pick.
just going to play the under. I'm just going to play the under. That's all I can do.
The capper for the USFL. Maulers Breakers. Breakers -3.5. Over under 37.5.
Does this line just not seem fishy, dude?
I totally understand why the Breakers would be -3. I totally get that.
Yeah.
The hook is what's kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
But also, now I'm trying to play double mind games where the book is oh, we're putting this hook here so people take the Maulers.
Yeah. I think you're outthinking the room.
I know. I think so. I'm going to underthink. I'm going to underthink now. I'm taking the Breakers -3.5, and I will take the under 37.5. That's right. I'm taking all unders.
The best thing about betting now is that you have the live betting. You know what I mean? If you don't want this Breakers thing, you can kind of wait a little bit.
Yep.
See if it trickles down a little bit.
And we'll see if the USFL has as fun live bets as the XFL. I suspect it will.
It will.
I suspect it will. That's been my favorite thing doing with the XFL, especially with the live streams, is live betting. It's so fun.
Remind me, because I'm an old man now, the extra point rules.
It's just a kick.
Just a kick?
It's just a kick. I don't believe they re-put the microchips in the balls. If you guys remember last year, the USFL had microchips in the balls for the first couple weeks, for the first downs and everything like that, so they didn't have chains. And the kickers were just missing like crazy.
Yeah.
I think and then eventually week 3, they brought out different balls just for the kickers. I think they're going with that again. So I think the kicking will be fine. But yeah, they just kick. They just kick one extra point. The USFL, I think, only has very small differences from the NFL rulebook. It's not massive.
Mm-hmm. I like the chips, but you're right. I mean, the kicking was abysmal last year. It's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are against everything else, though, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Against the XFL.
And
you have NFL playoffs.
I hate. Okay, Erik, you're doing the thing that I hate. I know you love talking numbers. The XFL TV number and the USFL TV rating bullshit. I'm just tired of it. I'm sorry.
You're just tired of it?
I'm tired of it. And like I suspect the USFL will do really well because guess what? The USFL's games are on NBC and Fox. The XFLs are on ESPN and ESPN2.
Okay.
But I think XFL's games on ESPN and ESPN2 will do better than the USFL's on FS1. And I think the XFL and USFL will have very comparable ratings based on the games that are on Fox and ABC.
Okay, I agree with that.
I think they'll be very comparable.
I agree with that.
It's interesting to see. I will be interested to see how like week 9 versus week 1 steps up. And Walter did have the point. Maybe there is a little football fatigue for some people. I personally don't have that. I don't know if that's a true thing.
Some people do get a little football fatigue.
Some people do. So the USFL's, if I'm looking at the TV schedule right now, so the Saturday games are both on Fox. The Sunday games, the first one's on NBC, and then the Sunday nights on FS1.
And some people don't have FS1. Some people don't even know what channel that is.
The XFL, Saturday, first game on ABC.
Okay.
Then it's on ESPN2. Sunday, ESPN. Both games are on ESPN on Sunday.
Okay. Not bad.
So like,
not bad.
I mean, people will say these all the time. Like, I think the XFL's numbers on channels like ESPN2 and FX will be very comparable to the USFL viewership on like channels like USA and FS1.
Yeah, okay.
I think they'll be comparable. I don't think there'll be a drastic difference one way or the other. The USFL has been doing, I think now that they have a proven product, they've been doing a better job advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's another thing that I kind of chipped the XFL for this year. They didn't do as good of a job at advertising, but maybe they want to see year one. They want to see like a proven product before they really dip their pockets. So maybe a bump in the USFL. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how the new markets for the USFL go. I'm intrigued to how Canton will go based on that. Like Canton doesn't have any teams. Ohio doesn't have any teams, but they do play the championship there,
which is important. Which is kind of big.
Yeah. So once again, they're mixed out. New Orleans and obviously Birmingham are in Birmingham. Houston and Memphis are in Memphis. Michigan and Philadelphia are in Detroit. Pittsburgh and New Jersey are in Canton.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued to see how the market's kind of. Well, because the main thing I knocked the USFL for, and it's a pure like it doesn't really matter, but crowd sizes for non-Stallions games were abysmal. You'd see like maybe 200 people in the stands. It felt like.
How do you feel it's going to look in the hubs?
I think obviously Birmingham will be good. At the very least for Stallions games. I don't know how it'll be for Breakers home games. I think Detroit might actually turn out.
The one thing with Detroit is Ford Field is so big.
That's the thing too. Like you see it, like Seattle will like even in the XFL, the Sea Dragons will get like 15,000 people, but they're playing at an NFL stadium.
So it looks small.
Yeah. Memphis, I want to say Memphis turns out. Yeah. But similarly, guess what? They're playing at the fucking Liberty Bowl.
Which is a big place.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Canton, I think, is in a weird spot where there's no teams there. There's no like actual home teams, but it's the perfect size.
Yeah.
Because you saw during the championship game, that place was full, and it was awesome.
Packed.
So I'm interested to see it. I'm interested to see that. I'm very interested to see how the XFL championship game looks in the Alamo Dome.
I think it's going to be bare.
You think so? I mean, San Antonio's been doing a pretty good job of doing it just by themselves.
Because the place is so big, it's going to look bare.
It depends how many you get. Like, I think it depends what teams make it. I think if St. Louis makes it, you might see a good crowd.
Oh, yeah, St. Louis. I mean, those guys travel all the time, man.
So, I don't know. Like, the San Antonio Brahmas have been doing just an all right job filling it.
Yeah, that's true.
They have a pretty good crowd sizes.
That's true. That's true.
I'm intrigued, and I'm very excited, and we have double spring football, and we'll have double football basically for the rest of the year. There's going to be a brief period, I believe, where the USFL solo before the CFL fully starts up, but only for, like, the better part of a month. Remember, the CFL is starting up in June.
I mean, dude, how excited are you, man?
I couldn't... I'm so happy, Eric. Yeah, June 8th is the first CFL game.
And I mean, you're just hoping there's no shutdown.
I mean, I think I might die. I might go postal if there's a shutdown. I might. So yeah, basically for the month of May, the USFL solo. So obviously the XFL has their championship game early May.
Yep.
May 22nd, CFL preseason.
Ooh. Give it to me, big dog.
Give it to me. Give it to me all fucking day. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Spring Fever. We will be tuning you guys in to all aspects of spring football. Don't forget, I mean, there's Arena League going on right now. Indoor Football League is going on. X League, they'll be doing their like spring summer tournament coming up soon. There's a lot. There's a lot of football going on. Hey, coward ass bookies out there. Post some X League lines, you bitches. Post some Arena League football. There was a good stretch for like a month where on like Bovada or BetOnline or some of these places I could find Arena League lines.
No, you can't.
I don't see them anymore. Post them, you cowards.
Maybe a tweet Bovada, dude.
I'll tweet. I will tweet them every day until they block me. Fucking cowards. Eric, what do you got going on in life?
I got my podcast coming out. Me and Gina are doing a little bit of a live NBA show every day. There's an NBA.
I was gonna say I've been seeing the notifications for a little daily blurb from old ETOF 21 Sports.
Yeah, I got a little daily NBA show that comes out Monday through Friday at 5, and on the weekends at noon. We're gonna be live as much as we can. Probably just a Friday through Sunday live thing, and that's been going pretty well. Been following along, business casual 4-1 to start the old NBA betting season.
Attaboy. Y'all know where to find me. USFL previews will be coming out. Hopefully Friday is the goal date to have all those team previews out for me. And XFL versus USFL Jim next week. The battle next week.
Who's going to win, dude?
The viewer.
The people.
The people will win. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Give us a follow. Give us a like. It does help. We love you, and we'll see you next week for more Spring Fever. Bye-bye.